Welcome to the front lines. This is the Premier League on Hell Let Loose, where every match is war, every decision counts, and only the sharpest squads survive. 9 divisions, 57 teams, only on the TPL podcast, produced by Axe Hawk. Real conversations, real perspectives, and the stories that matter. Now, let's welcome your host, Sheepdog.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to TPL episode 1 of our podcast. I guess we're calling it I Am Sheepdog. And alongside me, we have 2 amazing special guests. I'm going to go ahead and have them introduce each other. But they come from a company that's made a huge impact in the Hell Let Loose space over the last at least year, maybe even 2 years now. And we're so excited to be able to talk to them. We have Turion and Echo from Qonzer. Turion, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about your background, what your position is with Qonzer.
I've been in the hosting industry for, forever. Essentially, I set up Kwon-zer, I set it up quite a while ago. I think we discussed this in the last interview, but a quick recap was, during COVID, there were many problems, and I think everyone was having problems, and all I wanted to do was play a game. And it comes to renting servers from different suppliers, I should say, and not one of them were what they said that they were selling me, basically. So I thought, oh, you know what? And this was after I left. I left to start the stage company, and that's still very successful and still going. However, I started up Qonzer with the very aspect of transparency, and to actually make a change, to do something different, and not just be another regular run-of-the-mill games provider providing slot-based servers with no actual insight to what you're buying. And that's where it all kind of started. And Hell Let Loose has come along at the right time. A few other things came along as well. Qonzer was in sort of beta for at least 2 years. It wasn't really doing very much in terms of, and it wasn't called Qonzer then, it was actually called Quonix. But that happens to be a registered trademark. It's a part of an APU of an aircraft. That I never knew anything about it, but there we are. And so we started up, actually one of your community members in Hell Let Loose contacted Team 17, told them about us. They got in touch, and we opened up communication with them and started running Hell Let Loose. And through hard work and meticulous effort, I can say the effort has been the key word there. We were able to stabilize some normal issues that Hell Let Loose was having. So if we want to and we do this for every game. We don't just do this for Hell Let Loose. We're in touch with many developers and discussing problems across the whole spectrum, to be honest with you, that customers are continually having. But one of which in Hell Let Loose was the attacks. Last year, at Hell Let Loose, they were all, as people were seeding, they were getting DOSed and they were getting attacked and hit and so on and so forth. And that's one of the things we set out to solve, and we did. That's not to say that we didn't have problems along the way. As always, these things are very difficult in their nature of and how they're applied. We're effectively restricting packets and restricting certain types of packets going into servers, and that had a knock-on effect. And we have to change suppliers from path.net and piles of other things. But the raw basics of everything that you see on Qonzer is literally transparency, performance, and I believe innovation as to how people are running their servers. For example, we don't sell slots; we sell resources, which is what we believe you should be buying rather than slots. But
so there was a lot of things that I want to address in that, because there was a lot of things. But what I want to do is I want to turn to Echo real quick, because Echo, when we've talked before, your background is you literally came from the Hell at Loose space. So I want to get your perspective a little bit on Qonzer as a server provider in the Hell at Loose space and your experience, not just as a player, but now working with Qonzer.
Yeah, so it was a very interesting path. So I've been hosting certain games off and on, really big in the gaming community sphere. I got into Hell Let Loose. I was one of the play testers or whatever they were called back then. So I've been around Hell Let Loose. I've been playing it pretty much religiously since 2020. COVID started. Didn't have anything else to do, so. Um, but yeah, we struggled with providers, and we went through all of them that were available at the time, and all of them had just insurmountable issues, and they were different issues too. It wasn't like there was a mass problem that nobody could fix. It was just this company had this issue, this one had this one. And then one day, one of the larger Hell Let Loose community owners popped in, was screaming about this Quonzer thing. We were, funny enough, in a meeting about how we were going to swap from our current provider and to this other one that had just been able to start hosting. It wasn't Quonzer, but yeah, I hopped in. Immediately had some issues with the path.net, but at the time we didn't know. And yeah, I ended up getting connected with Turion here, and we've been there ever since. But I mean, my background in Hell Let Loose is competitive. Played competitive on a couple teams, and looking to get back into that actually. But for right now, yeah, came from the community to Kwon-zer, and that opened up to all the other games that we host as well.
To advance on that as well, some key points that Echo missed out there. We're not looking for you can't just get degrees for running game servers. Such things don't exist. We're after people who have got a bit of background, so they're somewhat neutral and understand the issues. One of the core things here is that we've got to get involved to understand what the issues are, what people are facing, and then ultimately come up with a resolution path, right? And I think sometimes that's hosting them on bigger, better hardware. Other times that's hosting them on different types of networks, or which I'm sure we'll go into at some point in this conversation.
Sure.
But Echo mentioned a true thing there about path.net, and it was a tremendously big issue. Bear in mind, our entire infrastructure was originally based on path.net, and they just weren't able to provide the service to our level and ultimately to any level at February this year. But we got other partners in. We're now partnered with NeoProtect, and through us working with them and us investing in Neo, they've been able to expand their network and ultimately do what we need them to do for us. So it's kind of like we work with partners, we work with people to get the job done. It ultimately is what because of it all is.
So let's talk about that for a second. So obviously, I'll say a little bit my background and maybe like this is my my statement about like my involvement with Qonzer. So I've known about Qonzer for I guess the last year or so. Obviously, so if people watching this, they may be familiar with Radical Gaming, and Radical had a huge part with the American Premier League, and that's when I first started hearing about Qonzer, and specifically because they were basically sponsoring APL, and they were using Qonzer servers, and I have to say that from the very get go, I only heard good things about Qonzer servers, and I won't specifically name it, but like with other server providers, including providers that I've had experience with, a lot of issues, especially related to customer service and the response time on issues, especially since that for people can be a little impatient, right? People a little bit impatient.
We've not been perfect on that either. We've not been perfect on that either. There have been times when we've had big issues, a lot going on, and look, we're people at the end of the day, and we have limits, don't we? Everyone has limits, and when you've got an influx of 100, 200 people all wanting help, it can slow down things. I think from my perspective, the quality. So we have issues with our suppliers, and sometimes our suppliers take weeks to get back to us. So but as long as the quality of the reply, the quality of the support is there, and eventually the issue gets resolved and nobody's losing out, then I think it's a good win-win. I mean, but some recent statistics from ourselves is that literally most, if not, I'd say 99% of people are getting instantaneous support on the live chat. If not, they're waiting for about maybe 10 or 15 minutes. So we've really stepped up the mark there with support.
Well, and that's huge, right? And for someone like me who's extremely impatient, that's absolutely huge. I want to talk about, obviously, like for people who are renting servers from Qonzer or just using Qonzer servers, whether that be as a player or as a team rep or anything like that, they may not be able to see the behind the scenes that would lead to the quality of the service that you guys provide. So I know that, like, when I talked to Echo before, he talked about some of the interactions that you guys had with Team 17. I would love if you guys would go into a little bit more detail about your guys' experience coming into Hell Let Loose and your experience with Team 17 and what changes and what interactions you had with them about specifically server providers.
Well, yeah, sure. One of the first issues, well, okay, so let's go back. So when we first started running Hell Let Loose, we kind of took the market by swarm, you could kind of say, and a lot of people got servers with us almost immediately. One of the big things that we noticed was people were renting servers from certain suppliers, and one thing they didn't really pay any attention to was what the machine they're running on actually is. And certain suppliers will put you on a 10-year-old Xeon, and you wouldn't, from their panel, you wouldn't know any difference. But you would feel it in game. You would certainly feel the chugging of the server in game. Some of the providers are putting 40, 50 servers on a machine. Again, you can have the best server in the world. You can say, I've got the best servers in the world, and it runs at 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz, whatever. But if you're loading 30 servers on it, well, they just said it right there. And that's why we sell hardware resources rather than selling slots, because when you buy the resources, once you've got them, they're yours, and we don't oversell. And that's one of the key factors. Well, in How Let Loose, the first hitch in the road, let's just say, was the Archon issue. That caused a major, major headache because it wasn't an issue with Kwon-zer. It wasn't an issue with anything. It was an issue with the Archon. An update had been brought out, and the Archon was causing the servers to crash. And that's where our higher level of interaction with Team 17, I truly believe this, we solved the problem. We gave them huge amount of data from packets coming in, packets going out, logs, crash logs, because we have all of these resources, but essentially everyone's server is a resource. We're able to pull in logs from everyone's server and say to them, look, something's not right here. We need this fixing ASAP. Working with Craig, working with the guys over there who, when all said and done, they've got a job on their hands as well, because they don't want to release another update to further profound an issue, to make it worse. So from that aspect, we worked together, we solved the problem. And then servers ran great, really, from February, March, and then they released another update this year, which was then crashing servers on the start of the match. And again, went back to them, we worked with the developers, and together we were able to find out what exactly was causing the problem and have it resolved. And I don't believe any other provider is doing that. And it's hard for Team 17 to get feedback of their players because they'd just be inundated, wouldn't they? So with us being able to say, no, look, we verified this is not a client-related issue. We've also verified this isn't a server-related issue. We've verified that this is something in the game. Something with this update has caused X problem to happen, and here's a solution. So, and that's how we work with them. And if there are any issues, contact us and we'll look into it and get it resolved. But 9 times out of 10, every issue that's come in has been resolved.
Well, and I think that's absolutely huge, right? Because I think it's easy as someone who's just in the community who wouldn't be able to see all the hard work that goes behind the scenes to not only to the complaints are very audible, right? Like you can hear the complaints left and right. People in Hell Loose are not exactly quiet when they have issues or complaints about anything related to Hell Loose, but specifically, being able to hear like that, you guys actually provided like the diagnosis for these issues, to be able to resolve, especially related to the Archon. Let's talk about something a little bit more specific, and this is something that you mentioned in the first point, and that we've seen in a lot of high-profile tournament matches. I don't know specifically in console, but I know in PC this has been an issue, and DDoS is the issue that I'm bringing up. Can you guys talk about kind of that problem that's emerged and what you guys have done for DDoS protection for your guys' servers?
Yeah. I'll take this one again, Echo.
You're all good.
So the problem with DOS attacks is you've got to diagnose, you've got to see what is coming in first of all, see the normal game traffic, what goes on back and forth, and then we build filters. But to go further back than that, a lot of providers out there say they're DOS protected, and they're not. There is no built-up protection. There is really no analysis going on. They buy a server with a provider, could be OVH, could be anyone. And because they have DOS protection and what they call DOS protection, they call themselves DOS protected. Path.net, you're not DOS protected by a Path.net. You've got to apply filters to specific ports to enable that protection. And even then, it's still not very good. What we needed was an absolute solution. And it came with many steps, really, many very complicated steps. First of all, getting transit bandwidth to accept the traffic for a start. Secondly, was getting something to filter the traffic. And then thirdly, was building up all the filters and protocol, actually physically building them, actually sitting down there and working with PCAPs and working with traffic and also the testing back and forth. And to be honest with you, the Chinese market was actually really helpful in helping us do that because they get DOSed every minute of every day. Seriously, it's quite horrendous.
I just imagine it's just like basically like you're basically like, and correct me if I'm wrong, basically you're simulating DDoS attacks and like seeing whether or not like, okay, we got to do this or we got to do that to protect our servers from DDoS. Is that accurate? Like you guys are basically like running simulations to see whether your servers can handle
They do it for us.
We
They do it for us. We don't have to simulate
Does it
it.
happen? Well, here's a question: does it happen often? Does it?
Yes, there's been over 1 million attacks this year blocked up to this point. Seriously, a huge numbers of attacks. The biggest attack was around 1.3 terabytes in size, of varying different protocols, and there'll be TCP and UDP fragmentation and so on and so forth. I wouldn't go into too much detail on what protocols they're sending through and how we even block it. But on the crux of it, we needed a centralized system that we can deploy globally. That's another thing with other providers. They'll get one server from Reliable, or one server from this provider, one server from this provider, one server from Hetzner, and they'll go around all these different providers, and they'll say that they're DOS protected, but, well, they can't say they're DOS protected truly until they have a system which can be rolled out globally that they know that works. And in actual fact, it's cost us a tremendous amount of money. All of the profits that we have spent every last penny we can possibly spend on DOS protection because we believe it's the forefront and where we need to be. DOS attacks are becoming incredibly frequent and they're also becoming easier to do. There are people out there who sell Discord bots that enable you to send out a huge network of attacks against any server, any location. So going back to it, auto mitigation and filters, but the same filters, the same service, the same system globally is in use. So it doesn't matter whether your server's in China, Hong Kong, China, and you've got Tokyo, you've got wherever, Germany, London, now Turkey, which we're about
Yeah, I
to
saw
release in
that.
the next couple of days.
Yeah, shout out to the Turks,
You,
dude. Maybe we'll see some Hell at Loose players in freaking
well,
Turkey, dude.
we have to shut
They're
the
already
location down.
already putting orders in.
No way.
We have
Are
to
they
shut,
really?
no, we have
Dang,
to.
man.
So our previous Turkish location we had to shut down because we had an implementation of our DOS protection system, but it the problem is it was handling traffic out in Germany and not handling it direct in Turkey.
Hmm.
So we had to put uh, an entire infrastructure in place in Turkey to be able to facilitate these DOS attacks because they get DOSed a huge amount. And effectively, what they turned the ISP turned around and said, "We can't have this. We just simply can't have this." And we have to literally stop the service there and then. And that's one of the problems that you have. So it's not just that you've got to come at this from so many angles, but working with Neo and actually investing in hardware and infrastructure and technology. For example, every single server we have has two now 20 gigabit NICs, so it has an in-house free DOS protection service, which runs via an NS Focus device, and it's very good, but it works on somewhat seeing large volumes of traffic and emitting singular large volume blocks rather than being able to filter specific packets. Whereas Neo, every packet is what we call sniffed, and it's filtered. If it's malicious, it's buggered off. If it's not, it's whatever. And then we're able to block a huge amount of traffic, um, and the connections die off fairly quickly. So our throughput is kept. So we're able to keep a high throughput at all times.
Well, that's huge, right? Because I think this is an issue that has bubbled up, and like I know that from my experience, I'll give a shout out to Kayanashi. Kayanashi is a pretty prominent figure in the Hella Loose PC space, and he's run charity matches that got DDoSed just in the middle of it. And I mean, it's kind of you get people from all around the world, and like you can't get them back. You can't. I mean, it takes a lot of work and time to get people together. And I think that what I want to dive into a little bit now is obviously you guys would understand maybe the concerns that the competitive scene would have, specifically because of your relationship and the things that you guys have done for the competitive scene. And I do want to say, like, I'll say as a testimony, I'll just say it like that. Out of all this, I've never seen a server provider go out and have the type of relationship that you guys have had with the competitive scene, or even, I will even say, the generosity that you guys have had with, I know for tournaments like APL and for TPL, and even for a tournament that I've run with HRI, we used Qonzer servers that you guys gave at no charge at all. And Echo, I know that you came from, you talked about like coming from the Hello Loose space, like what are your guys' thoughts and views on your connection and relationship with the competitive side, both on the console and the PC side?
So when we came on to into Hell at Loose, I wasn't involved in the company in a extremely serious way, but my intention was to push it out there as far as I could because I had the same interaction you guys have had. Got the issue that I had at the time was resolved in a Discord call, which at the time was just bizarre to me because I'd never had that interaction with a hosting provider before. But after sitting there and seeing what is actually happening whenever you give money over to a hosting company and seeing what you're getting in return was pretty eye-opening for me, and I probably would still be ranting and raving about the service that we got to this day. And I mean, as far as the connection back to the communities, I mean, a company like this doesn't exist without communities. I think the leagues were a big part of us taking off and doing as well as we did in Hell Let Loose PC, Hell Let Loose console. We had that honeymoon period. Everyone had the Path.net issues, and we're starting to see a little bit of return of trust in that. And I think the leagues are kind of key to our success, and that's why we're more than happy to hop in and talk to you guys. I mean, I'm in just about every Hell Let Loose Discord I can get my hands on, and I don't hop in trying to sell them anything. I just want to know what their issues are because I can't fix an issue that I don't know what the issue is. So,
That's the true
as
thing as
far as
well,
like
like
the
what you
league,
just said. Sorry to do that. Issues do happen, and
yeah,
problems can happen. The Path.net issue was a global problem. Every company who run via Path.net had those issues. The
right,
reason why it was flung into the forefront with us was because we host, we still do host, the mass majority of Hell Let Loose servers outside. We're the largest host for Hell Let Loose. So everyone was screaming and shouting about Qonzer. But in actual fact, if you went to any of the other providers and they were running via Path.net, which the majority of them still do to this day, they would have had the same issues. So
right,
it's people's perspective on the problem. And this is where the transparency comes in. And I will get into a call with anyone and discuss a problem with anyone. And I will show them the problem from both sides, from our side, from the provider side, to to their side, and I'll say, I know there's a problem. I think where the trust comes in is what we do to resolve the problem. And it will always be the cost of the company to resolve the problem. And we never put the problem onto the clients. We never go, well, look, sorry, you're gonna have to deal with it. No, if it costs us £1,000 to get a problem solved, or it costs us £10,000 to get a problem solved. Look at Turkey right now. As I say, Turkey, we had to shut services off there 2.5 months ago. And I'm not going to go into figures, but I can tell you that it's now become the least profitable location we've ever had, with the most amount of losses. And I don't think we're ever going to recoup that money back in the first 2 years
no,
because of how much it's cost us to deploy out there. But we did it for one reason and one reason only, is that we made promises to people in the Turkish community and in the Turkish gaming community at large, because it's not just Hell Let Loose, it's Garry's Mod, it's Perfect
Sure,
Example, it's all these different types of games.
sure.
We made a promise to them. We moved them to Germany for free. We don't charge them in Germany, and then we move them back to Turkey when we deploy our location. No other provider, I can guarantee this, no other provider would even attempt to do what we did. And we've succeeded. We know the system's working out there. One of the things we did last week was that we know that players in China have got a problem, and they've got to use VPNs to connect to servers in the, let's just say, in the outside world. We attempted to launch a network in China, and attempted was the key word, until it got DOSed off the face of the planet. And CN2 Transit actually turned the transit off. They went, no, we can't, we're not going to deal with that. And we're still in communication with them now about a way of us doing it. But effectively, they just want money. Everyone wants money. So they're like, yeah, we'll accept this traffic, but we want, $200,000 a month of you to run a network out there, and that's not shy of the figure that they asked for. So, so it's massive, massive, massive amounts of dollars and everything else going back and forth. And this is where politics come into it. I'm not going to delve. I'm not very political, to be fair. But because we're Western and we're trying to do something in China for the Chinese people, and we're on the content restricted network and all these different things going on, they just see dollar signs. And it becomes incredibly difficult for us to be able to do stuff. Even in Turkey, there was an awful lot of bartering back and forth, which is kind of their culture, really. And we finally settled on a price. They're happy, we're happy, everyone's happy, and now we can move on. And,
and the hoops that we
that's
had
what,
to jump through that nobody else. I mean, just getting to that
yeah,
point as well.
you wouldn't believe it. The
Yeah,
conversations, the hoops, the pleasing, and are trying to work something out, is just a massive headache. I spend 90% of my time doing just that, just literally managing all these different bits and pieces, and hopefully put a machine together, and it works. But as I say, that's what we're all about: problem solving and innovating. Just we want Turkish people to have the best performance possible. And before today, a 7950X, 9950X, you couldn't go anywhere to rent a server with that. We had to get our own hardware and ship it out there, you know.
Yeah.
And and that was a massive expense. Things. It's just a nightmare. But we're there to solve problems, and I believe that's the difference in Quonzer is we actually do something about things. We don't just go, oh, well, it's a provider's fault. There's nothing we can do about it. Well, heck no. People are having issues. Let's have a look at this issue and let's try and resolve it, because that's how things move, isn't it?
No, any issue with the service provider, Trion, can be resolved by moving them to a different machine. We know this.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's the answer now. Yeah, that machine gets DOS down. No, it's not just DOS attacks. It's everything from the performance. Like for example, using data packet with data packet. I mean, we're on Discord right now using data packet's network. So using their network, everyone's latency is lower. The scope is much higher, and it is just it's very expensive. But we don't just go to OVH or HETSNet and rent a machine for $100 and go, oh, we're a hosting provider. Here we go. Let's go. Sure, we're not perfect. No one's perfect. And we're not going to be perfect until we iron out every last inconspicuous issue that we have. Some issues we don't even know about until people are running a certain mod. And then we go, oh, hang on a second, that's not right. Well, let's try and look at this. And through time and effort, as keyword being effort there, we resolve the problem. And that's the way we do things anyway. But you won't see any you won't see any. Everything we have is our own. The infrastructure we have is our own through LSN, and we wouldn't have it any other way, because Preston, Taylor, Felipe, and all the guys over at LSN, we've had some big headaches. But I mean, even down to the cooling of the servers. These things are effectively, well, they're not overclocked, but let's just say they're not underclocked either. We don't just switch these things on and go, okay, there, we're done. We want to get the absolute most out of these things. So running, 32 thread CPU at 5.5 gigahertz, 5.4 gigahertz creates a lot of heat. When you're running 8 of them in a 3U chassis, you've got to have some pretty big cooling behind it. And we've got monitoring systems which constantly monitor the CPU temperature, because they get too high, the system thermally throttles, people's performance drops. So every last thing has been thought of through this, and we've had problems, but we're through. I think we're through the vast majority of them.
Until a new game comes around. Until a new game comes around, right? Like, I hate but I'm glad. Hey, listen, I'm glad that a lot of the issues are largely resolved. Let's talk about headaches for a second. Or actually, Echo, did you have something to say? I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Echo. But
no, I was just throwing in. We just need a big fan. That was my
what
solution.
I'm saying. Hey, listen, I ain't about this liquid cool thing, whatever. I just run fans, for me. But I also live in Texas, so I'm a.
I suppose the key thing is not that these aren't issues. I think they can create problems, but I think the thing is to isolate every. Let's just call them objects. Let's just call them, I don't know,
like a variable or
a variable. And we just got to isolate every single one of them, and we've got to analyze and look at every component. And there's a huge amount of components here, But as I say, we were able to drop latency from EU to New York with different transit providers from 85 milliseconds to now I'm 69 milliseconds. Now, 15 years ago, that's what you would ping. That's what I would ping from the UK to Germany, and now people are pinging that from Europe to New York. I mean, that's amazing for across the pond competitions, gaming, whatever. So yeah.
Sure. Weeks. Let me hope you pick your your middle grounds. We know what we're talking about.
Absolutely. And let's talk about that real quick. Because this is one thing that I've actually experienced, and this was an issue. We reached out to some of the team reps in the TPL for questions for Qonzer about server related issues and stuff. And one of the questions was from Nas from 22.4, and he had mentioned that teams had complained about server desync issues mainly on like neutral ground servers for these tournament teams. So like that would be like NA versus Oceania. Like typically the middle ground server they use would be like Japan, or like Oceania versus EU on like US West. Can you talk about that maybe a little bit about some of the desync issues that people have had?
Well, again, Australia is a massive country, isn't it? So
It is, sure.
and so is the States. You know, you could have somebody connecting from the east, from the east coast of America and the west coast of Australia, and somehow you've got to get all of these people connected in a singular location with the best performance possible. And it's not possible. It just, when all said and done, internet transit is internet transit, and some people are going to ping higher than other people. It's just not possible. In terms of the desync and what we can do about it, we can have a look at putting them on a VPN. But, getting them into our network quicker generally speeds up people's internet. Speeds it up. Sorry, generally lowers the latency. But in terms of these desync issues, it depends literally on the use case scenario at that moment in time. If someone's having a problem, and again, the key thing is to contact us, get in touch. We can have a look at exactly what they're doing, what their use case is, and we can go, you know what? Let's try this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. Okay, that didn't work. Well, let's try this, and we will try and try and try until eventually we narrow down the issue, and we might say, look, it's not possible to get this fixed. Generally, what I would say is rather than using servers in Japan, I would say go for servers in LA, because there's a direct hop between LA and Sydney. So that's the you got to bear in mind, if you're going into Japan, you got to go all through Asia to get to Japan, haven't you, for Australia anyway. So I would definitely say LA. Now that somewhat gives an advantage then to people from America because they're getting a lower latency than Australians. But therefore, there is another solution, and that's that you have a two match team have one match on one server in the States and another match on another server in Sydney. I don't know how these things work really. But you got to balance it all out. It's hard. I get it, but there is no provider, and there is no magic button that says, right, let's fix this desync between X, Y, and Z. All we can do is look at different locations, and potentially we find a neutral location between the two that, Australians are pinging, 50 to 100, and Americans are pinging 50 to 100, and we're able to try and balance it out there. Singapore will probably be an option for that. But then again, the transit over there works very awkwardly as well.
Sorry, the answer is you create your own island that's like right in between Australia and the US, and then you put servers right there at that island. That's the way you solve it. I just came up with a solution.
Should we tell them about the yacht idea?
The yacht, yeah.
The yacht.
We were gonna get a
dude.
the Qonzer yacht, but we were gonna load it up with 7950Xs. So when people were complaining about issues, we just float it closer to wherever they live.
I love it, dude. I love it. I do want to dig in a little bit to, you guys were talking about headaches earlier, and I always find it, I don't know if like I'm a troll or what. I always find that like when people complain, it makes me laugh. I don't know. When I'm not the one dealing with the issue, it seems so petty, whatever. I'm curious, like in all of your time as server providers, especially in Hello Lose, I'm so curious. Like, what would be some of the dumbest requests that you've gotten from customers related to servers?
Oh,
I wouldn't say, So
Yeah,
I wouldn't say anywhere
like many from. Yeah, we've had certain people, let's just say, who have deeply insulted me and my family.
We won't name names. We won't name names, but like, so physical threats. Sheesh, man.
It bounced back to the Archon issue, and we couldn't fix the Archon problem. Guess what? We couldn't fix an issue because it was nothing to do with us in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he made some. Oh, well, sorry, but yeah, I think he or she made a flashing comment about my children being runts or something, and whatever. But I mean, these things happen, don't they? I mean, I smiled to be fair, it made me laugh, but people get wound up very, very, very easily.
What?
I do find
Not
that
how it was.
the community at large. To be fair, I find it as this is people's release, isn't it? This is a release of the game. All games are. They're just a release for people to get into a different place and have some fun. And when their fun's interrupted, people get angry about it. So but not all I can say to that is not every problem's is ours. But request wise, oh
People
gosh, I mean we got
thinking that
so.
we're Archon, that we have an Archon client.
Yeah, yeah, or fix. I've had a few people saying fix my server, and they
Just do
haven't
it.
even got a
Just fix
server.
it. It's like, I don't know what's wrong with it. Just
That,
Just the
that was
good
one guy
scheme.
actually come onto the chat saying fix the server, and I said, and I was trying to find his account. He's shouting at me on the account really really angrily, like all capital letters and stuff, and I found that he wasn't even hosted with us. So
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's like, sorry, mate, you have to go to your provider and go and ask them for help.
No,
And
no,
he's
that's
like,
where you're like, oh no, you just got to
That's a
buy
great
servers
sales
from us,
opportunity.
and that will solve the problem. Just buy
I
servers.
promise we'll fix
oh
it.
no. I didn't want to say that we'd solved the problem because I just thought, let them go and be a heads up for something else.
That was some real wisdom right there. Honestly, probably. Um, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
We get all sorts of requests. We get solid requests. It's like anything, isn't it?
Sure.
We do get some strange requests, with mods for different games and things like that, and and whatever. But we've always got to act professional when it comes down to it. But there are always funny things going on. I mean, we've had everything from tanks flying across the map and hell let loose. We've had that one, and someone who was that? I can't remember who. Someone sent a picture of a tank flying across the map and wanted me to fix
That
that.
was
I have no
me
idea.
during a
Was
that was me
that you?
during a Friday Night Fights. That was before I came on. Yeah, we were doing a Friday Night Fights, and we were on Omaha, and there were Sherman tanks flying up onto the cliff, and I took a video of it and sent it to you. And I was like, "Do you think you could do anything about this?"
Is that a Qonzer issue or is that a Team 17 issue?
So that was not, in fact, a Kwon-zer server, but it was during the path.net issues.
Okay.
So
you see, so he's banned now. He's banned. He wasn't on a Qonzer server. That's it. Banned now.
hey, that's what I said. We offered to give him servers so it was unified, but we were turned down on that. More for me, but I mean,
Sheesh. Who's turning down free servers, dude? Who's turning down free servers? Servers, dang man.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. People come on to us asking us for sponsorship, and then what they'll say is they'll go, "Okay, well, we want X, Y, and Z," and we'll go, "Okay, yeah, let's provide you."
Okay, well that's dumb though. Like is it like they're asking for money basically? They're like, no, if you're gonna sponsor us, like you got to pay us. Is that the thought process?
No. We'll sponsor them with servers, and then they'll be asking multiple different server providers to to sponsor them or whatever, and then they'll come back and they'll go, "Oh, it's okay. We've been sponsored by another provider," and we're like, "Okay, yeah, happy days." And good luck. On to do with us.
Okay, they're playing their market a little bit. They're like they sent out a bunch of requests and then they got the one that they wanted and then went with that. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, oh man. Let's go back to especially since like this podcast is the start of TPL season 2, right? So like this is like we're literally about to start in a week. Literally, I think we got 15 matches coming up over the course of next weekend. There's 58 teams total, which is just absolutely insane. Absolutely just sheesh, dude. But I want to talk about like your community interaction, especially related to the console scene, and what have been the interactions been with the console side, and even with like console issues that they've had, and your interactions with Team 17 on that.
Yeah, mixed. I mean, I think very good. Echo deals with a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
other than me. He's the guy who deals with the forefront of all of this. The onslaughts from the community. I think I think there is a problem somewhere along the lines with console side of it. I'm not too sure exactly where it comes from, but there has been a number of issues. You got to bear in mind that we we run these things the same as we do a PC, how at least PC server, right? So they're running on the same hardware, same setup, same everything, really. And we can put two of them side by side. We can put, let's just say for a hypothetical scenario, we run two machines. We put a Hell Let Loose on one, and we put a Hell Let Loose console on the other. And people will report differently on console versus PC. They'll report, oh, there's a latency problem, or there's a bit of lag, or whichever. And on the PC, they're like, no, this is great, whatever, or vice versa. And we haven't actually managed to pinpoint a core problem. We do host the largest of the console gamers out there, the larger of the servers out there, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, something's not right here," or "It wasn't, it was lagging at 5 o'clock in the morning," or something, whatever. And we'll go through, and we won't see anything. Now, we know that they're notoriously harder to DOS console servers because of you can't expose the IP as easy. You can go on to Battlemetrics, expose the server IP, and you can just go and DOS it freely. Whereas on console you can't. But we also host up, and some people say, "Oh no, there's no problem at all. This is how it runs. It runs great. But thank you very much." Blah, blah, blah. And other people will, dig in and say, "No, we're not happy here. We're not happy there." It's hard. I don't know whether it's because they're on Wi-Fi, because generally consoles are connected to someone's Wi-Fi, and they could be up in the bedroom somewhere or in the living room, and the router could be somewhere else in the house, and the connection there is not so great. It could be that. It could be, another thing as well. You got to think of the game engine. You got a lot of, let's just say, potentially a lot of unstable connections joining a server, and the game's got to somehow synchronize everybody up, hasn't it? Right. So when they're running,
Sure.
everyone can see them running and whatever. And that's done through a lot of complicated netcode, which I've got to say, for Hell Let Loose, is amazing what they've done. But it does create problems, and I'm not too sure whether that's a potential cause to it. It could be, it might not be. I don't know. But generally, people have a good experience on all console platforms. And I think there are limitations to the console platforms as well. It's a total different aspect from PC gaming. So I think that's an adjustment for us to make as well, to try and figure things out. But in regards to console gaming at large, I think having everybody connect to a central server is probably a lot better than having these sort of like cross-country aspects. People in the UK versus people in America or whatever, or get them the lowest latency possible. I think we found that makes a huge difference.
Well, and it sounds like for you guys specifically, like reaching out to you guys and seeing what servers in certain scenarios work best. That sounds like that you guys would be extremely amenable to that, and I think that would be extremely useful for some of the teams. Because, man, how many times have I seen teams argue about like, no, we want to use this server. No, we want to use that server. And it's like, and I understand that like every team's trying to give themselves the best advantage that they possibly can. I mean, no one wants to play on 300 ping, right? Like no one wants to be doing that. But obviously, like you said, with some of these problems, some of them they're just gonna be. You're not gonna get a 20 ping when you're playing on server halfway across the world. Like that's just not how it works. And we're trying to find the best possible solution to making it to where it's competitive all the way around and everyone's given a good shot. So it sounds like,
I think in terms of like North America versus Europe, I believe you guys have these matches in TPL, don't you, where you have like sort of like cross Atlantic gaming. Do you have that with Europeans versus Americans? Is that something that TPL has?
Yeah, I know in PC it is for sure. Like we see that with like seasonals, and we see that with APL. I mean, heck, we even see like especially because like ESPT recently played against Greyhounds. I don't know what server they use. I'm curious. I don't know if HCA was using Qonzer servers for that match. I know that, and I don't even know what
For
server
which
they were
one?
using. It would have been ESPT versus Greyhounds. The match was
I
on.
don't think they did.
They didn't. Well, that's the problem. No, I'm just kidding. But I'd have to look and see. Surely there is some European teams playing against North American teams. It's a freaking melting pot in TPL this
Well,
year. I mean, like, just
I think what we should do. I think what we should do here moving forward. Forget about the past and let's work onto moving forward here. I think before each individual match takes place, I think the runner of the match or whoever's the admin of the match or whatever's going on, they need to contact us. We need
okay.
to discuss between us what the best solution is for that match. And because you might have a European team versus an American team, and the UK is a really good spot for that,
Sure.
for centralizing them. But and we can test different scenarios. Look, and the leagues here, they can have as many servers as they want. They can have the full use of our might. We don't limit anyone. What we want is for people's competitive games to be the best quality of games. So at the end of the match, people can't say, "Oh, we lost because our team was lagging" or something like that.
Yeah.
So what we want to do, so they need to contact us, and then Echo here can directly manage that, and you can see what's going on, and you can see are things good, are things bad. First of all, we hype up the DDoS protection so they're on the absolute max of the max of the max, so no one can DOS it. Because we've seen that as well, and we have seen when people are in competitive games, especially with APL, all of a sudden, bear in mind, this server IP's never been exposed to the public, never been used, and all of a sudden during this one match, a DOS attack comes in, and we're like, well, that's a bit sketchy, isn't it? Not blaming anyone, but obviously someone here has gone, we're not doing so well, or we're doing great, let's stop the server down. I don't know, whatever.
We have a saboteur in our midst. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Honestly, I don't know what caused it, or whether it's people from the outside not happy about the league, or there could be anyone, couldn't there?
Sure.
But then
Absolutely.
all I know from my perspective is that a DOS attack comes in, it was mitigated, which is great, but the threat's there. So we need to get everyone on the same page, and we can work with people to make sure that this is the best league going forward. We nailed it. That's what I want. At the end of the league, I want another interview where we can go, we nailed it.
We'll do it. We'll do an interview. We'll see, and we'll do a real feedback driven approach of how TPL went. I mean, that's gonna be months away because like freaking so many matches coming up.
Like February, right?
Yeah, something like that. It's wild.
Yeah.
But I know we're kind of coming a little bit to the end of our time. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about obviously the big announcement that Team 17 came out with in the last couple weeks was Hell Let Loose Vietnam. So obviously looking forward, from your guys' perspective, what is that something that excites you guys related to being a server provider? Is that something that you guys are looking at doing with Team 17? Is there any insight at all into Hell Let Loose Vietnam from your guys' perspective?
Well,
I mean,
I look at it
can't say
as hell. Yeah, we really can't say a whole lot. The the conversation is hopefully to be had very soon. From our point of view, we have been as transparent, open, and honest with Team 17, and we've worked with them very well. We would love to continue working on that from the start of a new project and not kind of come in and catch up with everyone else, which I mean, we did with Hell Let Loose. We came in at the tail end, and here we are with the largest hoster of Hell Let Loose. We're really proud of that, and we're really happy to do that. But to come in at the beginning and have the relationship with those guys that we have already would be phenomenal for us and for the community as a whole. And the case just has to be made that, hey, we're more than capable of doing this. And, if we have to spin up 100 machines tomorrow, we're probably one of the few providers that you guys have that would be able to do that. And it's all about having that open and honest, transparent conversation with them, which is what we've been doing the whole time. So we would love to see it. And Yeah.
Going back into the core of Hell Let Loose, though, Billy, the reason why we were brought on board to Hell Let Loose, which no other provider for a while has been added to the Hell Let Loose sort of like, allow
Hmm.
list, is that we came on board to solve performance issues. Every man and a
Yeah.
dog was going on about performance issues, and we came in and we did exactly what we said we were going to do, and that was solve performance issues.
Hmm.
In Vietnam, we're definitely into Vietnam. It's going to be major. We'll have so much fun with it as well, And
Hmm.
we've what the past has allowed us to do is to nail down, all of the little inconspicuous variables and issues that keep going on. We've managed to get rid of them all. So when Vietnam comes out, where it's a much smoother operation now. A lot of the stuff we've done is very, very hard, very, very difficult. But with Vietnam, it's a smooth operation. We could host the entirety of their official service / community service. Makes no odds to us. We're ready. We are literally ready, and we've got to have a conversation with Team 17. I've already thrown it out there that they can have literally the full might and the full use of everything we have to offer, and that's in return for them being so dedicated to this game. And we need to work together, don't we? Everyone needs to work
Yeah.
together, otherwise problems don't get solved. But yes, Vietnam is very cool.
Awesome. So, obviously, I've had great experiences with Quonzer servers. I know that many of the reps that are in the communities that are in Hell Let Loose. Obviously, you guys mentioned that Quonzer is the biggest provider of servers for Hell Let Loose, and if someone was not uh, using a Quonzer server, what, like, just give me like your quick sales pitch. I know you talked about like transparency, performance, and innovation, but what would be the thing that you would want to tell reps that aren't using your servers about Quonzer?
Um,
So the biggest thing that we see with console people having an issue with other providers, um, a lot of the other providers are providing a service that is not necessarily up to par with what we have. I know some people have had issues in the past. A lot of our issues are already ironed out. Pricing is another big thing. I mean, like none of these communities should be spending 70, 80, $100. Like go back and look at the prices for Hell Let Loose console in January before we came on and go look at them now. There is a reason that those prices have changed significantly. And no, it wasn't because everybody decided, oh, hey, let's do the right thing. So we offer a pretty premium service, I would say, and we do it for half the price of them. Well, it was half the price, um, but I mean everybody's starting to copy us anyways. So we're gonna have to remain or be innovative to remain where we're at. So that's something we're committed to doing.
I suppose another shot. I suppose another shot at it. About this as well is just come along, give us a try. At the end of the day, come on, come
Sure.
on, give us a try.
7 days.
If we have an issue, we'll solve it. You'll save money. You'll be on better hardware. I can almost guarantee you that. And the issues we've had in the past have been very much surrounding the network, and the network has been surrounding the DOS attacks, and everything here is, no matter how small, has all played a big part in it. Path.net, we don't use Path.net anymore. They're gone. We just decided to go, right, we
There you
need to
go.
do so, and it cost a bunch of money for us to do that, a huge amount of money for us to get that done. And yeah, things take time. But all I can say to people is, come along, give us a try, and if they've got a problem, we'll solve it for you. As simple as that.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it joining us for the very first episode of the TPL podcast. So it's been amazing talking to you guys, and I'm so looking forward to when TPL is over, doing that meetup, and we'll talk about like the performance of Qonzer, and we'll probably have more information on things like Hell Let Loose Vietnam at that point too. So would love to get you guys' perspective, but so if anyone's watching this and are curious about server providers in Hell Let Loose, or looking to rent a server, go to Turion, go to Echo, and reach out to them about possibly using them as a server provider. So for everyone who's watching, thank you so much. I'm Sheepdog, and our guests for this podcast were Turion and Echo. Looking forward to TPL Week 1, which is coming up this weekend. So it's going to be the start September 5th through September 7th. It's going to be, I believe it's going to be Division 5 to Division 9 matchups. So all through the weekend. So there's going to be plenty of matchups to catch. So, and obviously that will be announced in the TPL Discord if you are curious about who's going to be streaming and when they're going to be streaming it. So, we're going to call that adieu, and thank you for everyone who watched this podcast. And
No, thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having us.
I'll see you at the end of the tournament. But good luck to everyone, by the way. Remember, contact us before the match so we can figure things out.
Yes, and we will reach out to team reps about that as well. So, and we'll let them know that's a good. I think that's a great step. I think that's a great way to hopefully resolve that issue. So we appreciate you guys, and that'll be it.
Cheers.
Thanks.